All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going on a pretty wild journey. We're going to peel back the layers of the mind, kind of like an onion, to see what, if anything, is left at the absolute core of our experience. It's a trip to the very center of what it means to be aware.
So let's just jump right in with a thought experiment. Imagine we could just strip away everything that you think makes you, well, you. Your memories, your senses, even that feeling that you're a person. If we took all that away, would anything be left? This question gets right to the heart of what we're digging into today. Okay, so let's start here. This is us, right now, our normal, buzzing, everyday consciousness. It's this rich, complicated stream of sights and sounds and feelings, all this information just pouring in from the world. This is the first, outermost layer of the onion.
Now let's peel that layer away. Imagine you're floating in a sensory deprivation tank. No sight, no sound, no touch. With all your senses gone, would you still be conscious? Of course you would. You'd still have an awareness, right? It would just be a much, much simpler state.
Okay, let's go deeper. What if we also took away your memory? So every single moment feels like the very first moment you've ever existed. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it still seems possible that something would be there, experiencing that moment-to-moment existence. Consciousness is still there.
And here it is, the final and maybe the most profound layer. What if we could subtract that feeling that there's a you in the driver's seat? No sense of being a self, an agent, an I who is having the experience. This is the very core of the onion.
So after all that stripping away, what's left? What's still there? And this isn't just some late-night philosophical game. Answering this question has become a really serious scientific quest to find the most fundamental, basic building block of consciousness itself. So, how are researchers actually trying to find this thing? Let's take a look at the methods they're developing to try and isolate this core experience and maybe even crack one of the biggest codes in all of science. Scientists, of course, have a name for this theoretical core state. They call it minimal phenomenal experience, or MPE for short. You can think of it as the bedrock of awareness. It's not awareness of something specific, it's just the state of awareness, period. Pure and simple.
But how in the world do you even begin to study something so slippery? A consciousness researcher named Thomas Metzinger proposed this cool three-step method. He calls it triple triangulation. So first, you need to find a reliable person, someone who can consistently enter a state like aware, dreamless sleep, and then report on it. Second, you stick him in a brain scanner and identify the absolute minimal brain activity that's required for that simple awareness to exist. And then finally, you create a computer model that describes how it all works. It's basically a scientific roadmap to maybe, just maybe, finding the core of consciousness. But, and this is a big but, this search is incredibly difficult. I mean, it is just filled with these mind-bending paradoxes that make MPE one of the trickiest things for science to get a grip on. It really challenges our whole idea of observation. Yeah, this quote from Thomas Metzinger really just hits the nail on the head. It's the central paradox, right? If this minimal experience is truly one without a self, then who is there to observe it? Who's there to remember it? The moment you try to report on a selfless state, you have to bring a self back into the picture just to do the reporting.
And this whole challenge creates two huge roadblocks. First, you've got ineffability, which is just a fancy way of saying the experience literally can't be put into words. Some people who have experienced states like this just choose what's called noble silence instead of even trying to describe it. Then second, you have the fridge light problem. You can't ever check to see if the light is off without opening the door, which of course turns the light on. It's the same thing here. You can't scientifically verify a selfless state without involving a self, which completely changes the state you were trying to observe in the first place.
So, despite all of this complexity, Metzinger has a speculative theory about what pure consciousness might actually be. And you know what? It's not some grand, complicated process. It's surprisingly, even radically, simple.
The theory goes something like this. Pure awareness isn't some high-level function happening way up in the cortex. No, instead, it might be something much more fundamental. It could be the brain's internal model of its own raw on signal. You know, that feeling of wakefulness that comes from deep inside the brainstem? It's basically the brain just sensing that its own lights are on. So at the end of the day, the answer to the great mystery of consciousness might not be some complex cosmic secret. It could just be an elegantly simple biological function that's been there all along, hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so this might all seem a little out there, a bit abstract.
But understanding the core of consciousness isn't just for philosophers and scientists. It has massive implications for how we build our future.
I mean, it helps us build what Metzinger calls a culture of consciousness. Think about it. How can we possibly design ethical AI if we don't know what makes an experience good or bad at its most basic level? How do we create smarter policies around drugs, or improve mental health education, or make better decisions about end-of-life care? Understanding this core is, well, it's key to all of it.
And this leaves us with one final, provocative thought to chew on. A lot of spiritual traditions, and even some scientists, suggest that this fundamental state of pure awareness, it isn't some difficult peak we have to climb. Maybe it's not a destination at all, but simply the ground that's been right here beneath our feet the entire time.